time. In a related development, we will hear from the Finance Minister designate Ken Oforiatta, who is tonight calling for action to stop leakages in the petroleum sector, set to cost the nation billions of cedis in revenue.
Also telling if there are leakages to make sure that those things cease, and it's not the responsibility of government, but it's the responsibility of all of us.
Impact of the COVID-19 pandemic, with the crisis worsened by dwindling revenues, there is yet another startling warning tonight that one of the countries in a statement warns of what they call the imminent apocalypse of Ghana's petroleum industry and is pushing for reserves by themselves. With the world moving away from fossil fuels, which Ghana has in abundance, many of the world's leaders and Chevron are set to abandon exploration and production in countries like Ghana. The coming on the day when Finance Minister designates Ken Oforiatta himself, who has been unwell in the U.S. shortly. But first, my colleague Kriku Asante has a copy of the statement from the civil society platform on oil and gas and joins me in the studio.
They observe that Ghana's oil and gas industry faces some grim prospects, such as BP, ENI, which all operate in Ghana, by the way, Shell, Total, soon abandon countries like Ghana. And know that, Evans, already our existing oil fields, MPC, must be ready to step in with the capacity to explore and produce Ghana's oil reserves, to take its drive towards operatorship seriously, and to begin negotiations with GMPC must partner international oil companies already operating in Ghana to build its capacity.
And of course, we're going to be hearing from the Finance Minister designate, who in the USA has a statement that has been issued today, because if the predictions by the civil society group is anything to go by, this Mateo is with the civil society platform on oil and gas and joins us on the telephone line right now. Thank you, sir, for your time here.
Careful as a country, in less than 10 years, our oil and gas industry will take major investments in exploration. And again, if you look at the product already gone, you take what you call 10 projects, and we are about 1/3 gone. So unless we make any new discovery, in less than 10 years, features. And so this is dire. But then, in spite of the gloomy picture, there is energy transition. Most of the multinational companies that are exploiting our oil are going to divert their attention, because EU-registered companies to move away from fossil fuel and invest in what they call sustainable projects will not be available to do the exploration and the extraction for us. And that is why it supports GNPC in this regard. We encourage government to give that support and to provide whatever it will take for GNPC to build this capability.
Already operating in this country. ENI is one of those companies.
Yeah, that's right. They are not making...
For you, what you talk about, the shift to renewables factor is considered. I guess the picture you're painting is, if you now add the additional complication then the situation becomes even more complicated. But then if you look at the COVID environment, it paints a...
to salvage the situation. The picture is not looking too good, and until we are able to be enough, you need to build the capability to be able to extract it.
I guess the question is, how do you do that?
You see, so far it's been lip service. But I think the way you get there is to be that previously with AGM. And in that agreement, somewhere along the line, in the course of the project life cycle, GNPC was to give GNPC the practical experience of operatorship. Then they are able to test their knowledge and skills, and then in future
venture. Will they have that? And what would it take to get that financial muscle to do what
the company is currently operating? It will be difficult, really, to be able to even rake in much more time on its feet. So going forward, what we are encouraging that perhaps when we talk about empowerment, putting some of our oil revenues, and then with the revenue they derive from those projects, they can up their stake in other projects and gradually build that momentum towards full operatorship.
It has locally. How long before this thing explodes in our face if we don't act now?
Well, I've known one thought it will be because already there's a substantial decline. Look at BP. BP is actually a major taking these decisions. The other companies also follow suit. In fact, Shell has that direction. Then we need to be able to think through a strategy to cope with whatever the impact of this particular transition will be.
Then they somehow then shift into this policy where they want the entire world to follow suit. When countries, poor countries like Africa, then they say, well, we are moving away. We're almost leaving the untapped reserves. And correctly, our reserves will stay in the ground and won't benefit at all from it.
Yeah, precisely. But Evans, you see, depends heavily on your resources. See the trends. You need to begin to think and to devise a coping strategy. Strategy will be for us to be able to step in when these companies move away. So fuel. And so the world began to move away from coal towards hydrocarbon. So you go to Brazil, you go to South Africa, Australia, New Zealand, they are still producing coal, even though the world has moved, will continue to depend on it. And it will make substantial impact to the cost of hydrocarbons. The price of crude oil is going to drop. It will become a very cheap source of fuel for energy generation.
Gas with a statement out tonight, grim prediction about the impending collapse of the oil industry in Ghana is beginning to ship out because of that shift from fossil fuels focus to renewables. And this is, of course, this conversation in the statement is source of our revenue is petroleum. In fact, it's given cause for the finance minister himself to comment on this as he stringent measures to stop leakages in the petroleum sector, set to cost the nation billions of cedi. Government and the oil marketing companies to plug the leakages. The Ghana Chamber of Bulk Oil Distributors blamed actors and the national security for a loss of about 1.8 billion cedis in petroleum revenue alone. The report pointed to unabated say as part of a forum organized by the PricewaterhouseCoopers talking about what should be done to address this problem with revenue leakage.
Problem that we have, certain rigidities. But for us at the ministry, also telling if there are, because you know it more than I do, can we form a group to make sure, as a people, so the financial services sector in like manner, to begin to say that this affects our bottom line. And let's together, work at this. So, the pace at which we are going with digitalization, I think if we have these numbers at the right places, then really wouldn't because of digitalization, et cetera, et cetera. So it's an incredible, it was or where it should be going. And really looking at the Obatampa program, which is a 100 billion program, I think is our expectations that we can and must do it.
Well, so that's government frustrating moves to stop the smuggling.
That block all these loopholes. You can't be losing 1.9 billion and just around it. It is very depressing for people like me whose lives get at risk, and my family whose life are.
Why are you getting threats?
Why shouldn't I get threats when I'm trying to put sand in people's gari? I live life every day, my last. I'm being honest with you. And I go out there, I speak issues to deal with in this matter. The whole industry is going haywire. I sit here today, I'm a part of a committee that was set up to try and review and look into some of the issues that we look at. He really pushed for us to really get this done. There was lackadaisical attitude in government. Now that is done today. We need data from GRA to finalize that. When we've been able to commission the audit, it's not even providing the data. Then you tell me, who really wants to solve this problem? If you have problems with the power crisis, be honest with the people, let the people know that you are not paying the right price for. They can't give you a thing. They can only take from you. They can't give you a thing.
Well, Mr. Hossi joins us on the telephone line right.
Your listeners.
On the back of...
The line is not too clear on my side. I hope it's clear on your side.
It's great. Can you hear me now? Is it better?
Would cope.
Tonight, who is suggesting that a group should be formed, made up of course, government and yourselves, in the interest of the people of Ghana, to deal with this
We
problem?
recommended that this group be formed way back in 2018, sitting in the Ministry of Finance. He listened, and that will have to fix the problem. So he also has limitations. So if afterward 2.5 years, because what we've done, all this while, is to show them how to solve the problem. And you don't get it being done to the point that we now, it's good to hear, at least we can start. It's also possible to recover some sums. That's if we are willing to deal with people who are their own classmates. In Ghana, everybody has a classmate, everybody has an uncle, everybody has somebody. And that's the problem, and participating in it. Just like some did in the previous government. It wasn't as bad as now. We only get worse with every year.
That's not a big thing.
Look, even this country, I sit in the policy space. I think it's when we really are really operating and delivering the results. There are a number of committees that have been set out with you. The vice president and the GRA and the Minister of Finance push for a certain audit to be done at GRA. There's data required right from the same state to be able to narrow in on a few things. Even this is up to 2018.
Do you have faith in the finance minister's latest pronouncements that he will follow it up with action?
I have faith in the finance, with some of these things, because there's too much political pressure coming from all kinds of quarters, and he has a very dire fiscal situation to manage. So if he is committing to it, he must come with full energy and ruthlessness. Ruthlessness, even against his own, it's a situation, a state capture situation, where there are people from the echelons of power all the way down, controlled, including industry, regulators, everybody. So if you want to deal with it, you have to
see there with that alarm. On Newsnight, we are going to take you to Parliament, where the debate on the 2021 budget just started today. Of course, the revenue conversation we've been having all on Top Story from the civils in to replace the departing international oil companies. So that we can explore and produce our own oil. And then, of course, this revenue leakages issue that had just to whet your appetite for what is to come. Parker, the debate has started. How has it gone so far? What's the biggest issue for the members on both sides?
Well, we have alleged and accused government consistently of misreporting our fiscal deficit and have insisted that the current economic of what they say Apple-founded government from 2018, and the fact that at the time, since 2018, they denied. And they have said that if government does not rectify the anomaly, they're going to abstain from approving the budget. John Jenapor, who also contributed to that, they are going to call the governor of the Bank of Ghana to the House to answer some pertinent question, because they believe that he has also significantly contributed to our current.
As the budget debate begins on the floor. Parker, thank you very much. Parker's going to join us shortly. He's a man on the ground there. He's going to stay there. On civil society groups are warning of what they call an imminent apocalypse in the petroleum industry. And they are pushing for the international oil companies exit the shores of the country because of the global shift. Oil becoming redundant when the West started serious manufacturing of electric and battery cars.